In this lesson, we will focus on how we can use theme values to size and style our components. We'll also discuss how we can use them to apply dynamic paths for images and fonts for when we go to deploy our Opus applications. So in this example, I have a parent and that contains one child. The child has a fixed height and width of 100 pixels, and it has a background color, which in this case is set to primary. So primary in this case directly corresponds to a value inside of our colors theme file. So key primary has a value of a reddish color, and you can see the result of that on the right hand side. So there are a few ways we can inject theme values into our components. The first is to inject the value directly. So in this case it's primary, and Opus will know how to take this value and map it to a theme value behind the scenes. The second way is to do that manually ourselves, so manually inject it, and we can do that by adding a opening bracket and write theme dot colors in this case, because this is saying where Opus needs to reach out to find the actual theme file, and then we want to write the value that we want to use, so primary in this case. And there we go, it's applying the same color. The third value is to use a CSS variable, and CSS variables are generated when Opus is starting up for the first time, and we can do so by writing var two dashes the colors. Colors is the theme file I want to use, and another dash and the actual value I want to use, so primary in this case. And there we go. We'll talk about the differences between theme dot and CSS variables in another lesson. We can also combine these inside of shorthand operators as well. So a good example of this would be to add a border, and I'm going to give this a width of 5 pixels. I'm going to set it needs to be solid, and this is where we can manually inject our value, and I'm going to use secondary in this case. There we go. So next, let's talk about sizing. So the same principles apply. The way we inject those values apply in the same way, and in order to get that to work I would need another theme file. So in this case I have a global theme file, and I've got keys and values. So tiny padding has a size of 6 pixels, etc. So I can use them with various properties like padding, margin, whatever I need in order to size it in the way I want it to. So if I wanted to give this a margin left, I can do the same thing as the first option in color, so I can just say padding. I could say global in this case because we're referencing the global theme file. There we go, and I could also do the same with CSS variable. There we go. We can also get creative in shorthand properties in the same way, and the best way to demonstrate that is to add to the border prop. So I could say that I want the border width to be 6 pixels, so I'd give it tiny padding. And we'll see this grow ever so slightly. Or if we wanted to, this is a more complex use case, but we could say we could remove this border, sorry, this margin, and I could say something like this. I can say that it needs to have a top margin of giant padding, and I can mix them all together, so it needs to have a right margin of 0 pixels. It's going to have a margin bottom of no padding, which in this case is 0 pixels, and it's going to have a margin left of, we can make this a CSS variable. And there we go. So we're not limited by the ways in which we define these things, and they can all be combined together where necessary. So a more advanced use case would be using calculations. So we can apply normal CSS calculations, and we can do something like this. So I want to say I want the border width to be the value of tiny padding, but another 4 pixels on top. So I just do that by saying calc, and I wrap the injected value within brackets, and then I can say plus 4 pixels. We should see this grow even more. Lastly, let's discuss dynamic paths and how we can use them for image paths and custom fonts. So I have an image inside of the project called guitar, and in order to add it, let's add a new child. So this is where we need to inject our custom value. In order to do that, I have a theme file called system, and inside of here I have a property called MDA location. MDA location in this case is where my image is served. So because I'm running locally, this is where I've defined it. And what I'm going to do is add a new property called guitar image, and the value of that needs to be where I'm serving the image. So I'm going to start by referencing this theme value, slash images. Okay, so that should work there. And now I need to go inside of here, and now I can reference it directly from the system theme. There we go. That's how we can use dynamic paths and inject them.